I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
The World Series is set, and it's one team everyone thought would be there, the Houston Astros, and another team that everyone except maybe NL East fans are really excited got there, the Philadelphia Phillies. A feel-good story taking down team after team throughout the playoffs, which means to preview all of this, we have the benefit of two of the best, Brett Chansey from Locked On Astros and Connor Thomas from Locked On Phillies. And guys, this is going to be, I think, a really fun series. Astros are the heavy favorites. So I'm going to start with you, Brett. What is the biggest advantage you see as Houston having over the Philadelphia Phillies in this series?
Well, I think it's clearly our pitching staff, and our relief pitchers have only given up 3 runs in 30 innings. And so when you look at what they've been able to do, the Mariners, for all intents and purposes, in game 1 of the ALDS, had every reason to win and possibly take over that series and really shock the world. The Astros offense woke up and we came back, and Yordan Alvarez had the historic home run. But it's been our relief pitching. It's been like the Luis Garcia 5 innings. It's been Hunter Brown. It's been Hector Neris, Montero, Stanek, all of the players that are out there. Ryan Presley, who is 9 for 9 in saves in the postseason. He has been impeccable. And there could be a case for Ryan Presley being the ALCS MVP because he got 3 saves out of the 4 games. I think our pitching is key. The way that Dusty has deployed the pitchers, relief pitchers, the starters, it has been a masterclass. And I think it is probably Dusty's best handling of a bullpen in his entire career.
So, Connor, let's let you jump in here because this is going to be something that we see every year in the postseason. How does your pitching hold up when the stakes are at its highest? And the Phillies have, in a lot of ways, come through when the stakes have been at their highest in this postseason. So let's just take Brett's point. What can Philly do to counter what he sees as a big advantage in the bullpen pitching?
Yeah, and the bullpen's incredible. The thing is, the Phillies have 2 arms that can be competitive with anybody out there, and Jose Alvarado and Seranthony Dominguez. You're getting 100 from the right side with Seranthony, and just incredible stuff with multiple pitches to get you out on. And then Jose Alvarado only has 2 pitches, but they might be 2 of the top 10 pitches in baseball right now, with 102 potentially out of the left side and a cutter that's unbelievable and seems unhittable for any lefty on the planet. So it'll be those 2 guys that'll have to run the show. The depth isn't quite there, which is a problem. But if you can get to the 8th inning, the Phillies are a really, really tough team to beat.
So let's talk about this Phillies lineup, because Bryce Harper has been absolutely on one in the postseason, but it hasn't just been Bryce Harper. They're getting clutch hitting, of course, also from Bryce Harper. So if we're going to talk about this Astros bullpen, what do you see from this Philadelphia lineup, Connor, that gives you the confidence to say, okay, this team can score enough runs, especially after inning 5, inning 6, inning 7, to pull out some of these wins?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Bryce Harper is the best player on planet Earth right now, and he's absolutely unbelievable. So anytime he comes to the plate, you feel like you have a chance for something special to happen. And you saw proof of that in Game 5 with the late home run. But outside of him, this team has been really good in clutch moments at grinding out at-bats, especially some of the young players. Bryson Stott has had some really huge at-bats, pitch count-wise, and just feeding gaps over and over. Brandon Marsh has had a rough NLCS, but in the DS, he had some huge at-bats against some really good Braves pitching out of the bullpen. They have just the guys that aren't going to get you the big hit very often still are going to give you really big at-bats, and that they're going to see 7 or 8 pitches and foul a bunch of stuff off regardless of the result. So that's the saving grace of this lineup of the guys who are not the big names. They're at least going to trouble you with the pitch count if they're not the ones getting the big hits.
Brett, when you look at this Astros lineup, certainly, I mean, when you win over 100 games, you got to be able to hit, and this team can absolutely do that. How do they get more out of the guys not named Yordan Alvarez and certainly Jose Altuve? They've got plenty of other guys who can hit, but how do they maximize this lineup against, as Connor mentioned, some guys that throw some serious heat, especially in that bullpen?
Well, I think the key is to their approach. I think the weakness for guys like Altuve is they got outside of themselves. They swung a lot of. There was the one game where he was 0 for 7, the 18-inning game where they ended up beating the Mariners. But of the 25 pitches he saw, 18 of them were outside of the zone, and he didn't hit a single one of them. He maybe fouled one or two off. He only fouled off he only hit 2 of the 8 pitches that were in the zone, and he was trying to do too much. And when they allow the pitchers to throw outside and not chase, have the plate discipline that Alex Bregman has, why he's one of the leaders as a third baseman in postseason history for RBIs, especially with runners in scoring position. That's why you have Kyle Tucker, who is an absolute monster against left-handed pitchers as well. This team has to force the pitchers to bring the ball into that strike zone. If they can force the ball into the strike zone, Yordan Alvarez, Jeremy Pena, and Yuli Gurriel, who has been an absolute zero at the plate for most of the season, has turned back into hitting champ Yuli Gurriel. And so I think at the end of the day, he is going to have a phenomenal series versus the Phillies. And I think guys like Jeremy Pena, they've got to lay off the low sliders. They got to stay off the pitches away. If they don't expand the zone too much, force the Phillies pitchers in, I think that's a recipe for success.
All right. Quickly, I'm going to go to each of you. Let's stick with Brett here. Brett, what is the key to this series for the Houston Astros, the wild card, and what does that mean for how you think this series ultimately plays out?
I believe the key to this series, again, is going to be Dusty Baker and how he deploys the bullpen. That is going to be really that's really going to ride heavy on how the starters perform. So I need the starters to come out and not make mistakes, because I don't think this Phillies lineup is going to be as impotent as, basically the Yankees were. The Yankees didn't hit much. So the starters come out solid. Dusty Baker continues to deploy the bullpen arms at the right time, and the Astros hitters put up a crooked number here, a crooked number there. This team averaged 4.45 runs throughout the postseason so far, and they've won 7 of the 7 games they played. If they score 4 to 5 runs each game, I think the pitching holds it down and they're able to beat Philadelphia.
All right, Connor, why is everything Brett just said wrong? No. What is for you the wild card, the key, and how you think that ultimately affects the outcome of this series?
The best part is it has nothing to do with anything going on the actual field of play. It's the fans. It's Citizens Bank Park. It's the best home field advantage in sports right now, and you got to play 3 games in Philly. The Phillies are undefeated at home in the playoffs, and I understand the Astros haven't lost a game either way, but the Phillies have been unbelievable at home because of the environment they build. Everything that's being mentioned from teams that they've eliminated is how tough of a place it is to play. And if they can win 3 games at home, you have to steal 1 game on the road with either Wheeler or Nola potentially winning it. That makes them a really, really tough out. So it's the home field advantage they have at the bank, and the fact that on that field, they just seem unbeatable.
It is the favorite, the juggernaut against the upstart. And I think that's a perfect way, Connor, to put a bow on it, because if the Phillies win, it's going to be for some sort of unexplainable reason, something that we can't point to this in the stat sheet and say, that is why. Guys, thank you so much.
Locked On Podcast Network and Odyssey present Locked On Sports Today.